We're doing Taxidermy Tuesday a little bit different this week. I'm painting a reproduction fish, and I'm doing a time lapse to kind of show you guys the whole process of that. So the first thing I actually do is glue on the fins. You can see the dark lines around those, so I'll glue them onto the fiberglass form and then use some epoxy sculpt to kind of smooth out those transitions. Then once I get that done, I get the eyes set with some clay. I'll go over the whole fish with black paint, and then I'll scrape some of that off with that steel wool there. That's just to give the scales detail and kind of bring those out. After that, I'll go over with this off-white color. It's called a bass belly white. Makes sense, right? I put it on kind of the lower third, and then I'll really go over like the top half, the bottom half, excuse me, with just basically a plain white color. And you'll notice a lot of this, like now I'm using this bright yellow color. It might seem kind of weird to put that on a fish, especially a bass. But a lot of painting fish is layering colors in so that certain ones pull and others blend, and that way you can get the right color that you're looking for. This yellow that I'm putting on the top third will actually, you won't even really be able to tell that there was yellow on it by the end of it, because I'm going to go over it with this green, and that's really going to kind of create the color I want instead of just a flat green, or obviously you wouldn't want a bright yellow. So after that, I'm going with a little darker green on the very top of the fish, so like the top sixth, I guess, just to kind of get that transition. You guys know what a bass looks like. He goes from the darker green down to the lighter into the white. You'll notice off to the right there, my phone, two things that I look at while I'm painting these fish most of the time, aside from whatever podcast I'm listening to, is a paint schedule that I found on the internet that I really like. So that kind of just tells me what steps to take, when to paint what color, in what order, basically. And then I'll look at the picture of the actual fish that I'm trying to mimic. That way I can get the details and the small little things and get all of that as close as I can to the original fish that the customer wanted. That's one thing about the reproductions. Obviously, it's not the actual fish hide, so you kind of have to try to mimic it as much as you can. I do prefer the reproductions, though. I think they last longer, they end up looking better in the end, and they're a lot more forgiving than doing the actual fish hide. You can see now I'm putting this intense red in the gills to do that. Some of these reproductions have actual inserts that I really like. This one didn't, so I just got to go in and paint that. The next step, take this stencil and get those details of that black line. That's super hard to do by hand. Some crappie and spotted fish like that, I'll actually take a brush and do that. But with these bass, I like to use those stencils. It works out really well. And then kind of the last thing I do is go over the whole fish with this color called Softest Gold Look. It really just blends everything and meshes all the paint colors really well. Then I go over it with the iridescents that make it shimmer and look like a fish, and the wet gloss look, and that finishes out the painting. All right, I just finished it up. Hopefully you guys like that time lapse of the painting. But here he is, final product. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you again with probably another deer video next Tuesday.